Millions of Chinese electronic devices have been wiped from the American market, signaling one of the boldest moves in the accelerating U.S.-China decoupling. Markets shook, China's A-shares tumbled, and a wave of panic spread online. I'm leaving. Is the April crisis back? The U.S. and China are exploding again. That was the sentiment echoing across Chinese social platforms as Washington launched a sweeping cleanup targeting China-made electronics. On the very same day, President Donald Trump stunned the world by announcing a 100% tariff on Chinese goods. The FCC made a dramatic strike of its own. Commissioner Brendan Carr confirmed that major U.S. e-commerce platforms had collectively removed millions of Chinese electronic products, items accused of enabling surveillance, sabotaging American communications infrastructure, and posing national security threats. These weren't fringe gadgets. They included smartwatches, home security cameras, and network devices from giants like Huawei, Hangzhou Hikvision, ZTE, and Dahua Technology. Many had never been authorized by the FCC in the first place. Washington's scrutiny wasn't new. Earlier this year, the federal government had launched investigations into 9 Chinese companies, including Hytera Communications, Pacific Networks, and China Unicom Americas. Under U.S. pressure, tech distributors began implementing protocols to prevent banned devices from ever resurfacing. At the same time, the U.S. moved to formally review Chinese-made telecommunications equipment deemed high risk, pushing America-China tech tensions to a new peak. Beijing immediately fired back with a counteroffensive of nearly 10 retaliatory measures. China's Ministry of Commerce expanded national controls on rare earths, adding 5 new elements to the restricted list and even demanding that foreign companies using Chinese rare earths secure Beijing's approval, regardless of whether Chinese entities were involved in the transaction. The CCP also launched an antitrust probe into Qualcomm and slapped new port fees on U.S. vessels. Analysts say these are bargaining chips deployed after China escalated its rare earth strategy, but the United States wasn't done. President Trump followed up with a sweeping tariff order effective November 1st, alongside new export controls on critical software and additional trade actions under review. The U.S. has many options, Trump declared, pointing specifically to aircraft components, a pressure point for China, which operates nearly 2,000 Boeing jets and relies on American parts for maintenance. According to data from Cirium, any tightening of U.S. export rules would strain China's aviation sector, especially the COMAC C9Y9, already restricted by U.S. component bans. Then came the next shockwave. The U.S. Trade Representative announced a 100% tariff on Chinese-made cranes, port machinery, and intermodal chassis. Washington also triggered the final stages of its Section 301 investigation into China's maritime and logistics industries. Meanwhile, Bloomberg revealed that U.S. officials were weighing restrictions on TP-Link, a company controlling 65% of America's household router market. Investigators concluded that TP-Link devices had been exploited by CCP-backed hackers in operations known as Typhoon and Siphon. Experts warn that Washington is constructing a multi-layered pressure system targeting China's influence in energy, manufacturing, technology, logistics, and even digital infrastructure. U.S.-China ties have now entered a new era of full-spectrum confrontation. Financial markets felt the shock instantly. U.S. equities closed sharply lower. European markets followed. And by early morning, the crypto market was bleeding. China's A-shares were hit even harder. A panicked blogger shouted online, "Are the chairmen all asleep? Wake up, the sky is falling. The U.S. just crashed. Triple shorts. Tonight, the whole market is smashing China." The Shanghai Composite plunged below 3,900 points, with electronics, electrical equipment, non-ferrous metals, and computing leading the sell-off. Facing mounting pressure, China's Ministry of Commerce suddenly softened its tone. It clarified that export controls were not export bans and that civilian use applications would still be approved. Writer Wang Hao commented that Beijing's shift was a tactical retreat to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control, especially with a 100% U.S. tariff looming, threatening exports, jobs, and investor confidence. Economic strategist Rose Martin put it bluntly, "The CCP is using rare earths as a weapon. It's a reckless move that will only push the West to unite." He argued that China desperately needs the American market, and without it, the Chinese economy could fall into free fall. In the long run, he said, these aggressive rare earth restrictions might hurt China more than the U.S. as they accelerate Western efforts to build independent supply chains. From banned routers to rare earth wars, from 100% tariffs to global market chaos, the U.S.-China confrontation has escalated into a historic showdown. And as both sides continue to strike back, the world is bracing for even greater turbulence ahead. What will our cities look like when every store is gone?
我今天刷到个数据啊，实体店倒闭率高达93%。
Today I updated the data, and the truth is shocking. The closure rate of physical stores has reached 93%. Imagine this. You leave for work, and when you return, a street that once had 100 shops now has only a few left. You start to wonder, am I still in the same city? Most stores can't survive even 2 years. Some don't last months. Walk down the street, and you'll barely see a single person. Hand-run stores, once everywhere, are now vanishing. This is what the working world looks like today. Empty. Beijing has become eerily quiet. Rumors swirl about political struggles inside Zhongnanhai. Xi Jinping's rare appearances have fueled speculation, but ordinary people can't feel the storm because they're too busy trying to survive. The city is fading, and its people are fighting just to stay afloat. Look at this. New East Road, once packed with cars, now stands deserted. During holidays, Beijingers flee to the suburbs or abroad. The rest hide indoors. Foreign tourists visit the landmarks, but most of the city is silent. Let's visit the Jinyuan Shopping Center in western Beijing, once one of the busiest malls. Now it's a ghost mall. Stores are shuttered, escalators run empty, and even brands like Adidas have disappeared. The parking lot that used to be jammed with cars, completely empty. And here's the Beijing Friendship Store, a legend from the 1970s to the 1990s. Back then, this was the pride of the capital, a symbol of luxury and privilege. You needed special status, foreign connections, or foreign currency coupons to shop here. It was once the dream of every Beijinger. No, it stands silent, the glory long gone. We claim to have 1.4 billion people, but where are they? When the population was 1.2 billion, the streets were alive. Crowds everywhere, even in the countryside. But today, Beijing feels empty. As a real estate and financial agent, I've seen clients vanish, deals disappear. The economy is struggling. Companies slash costs, workers lose jobs, restaurants shut down, and once bustling districts are now frozen in silence. Even the convenience store downstairs, opened just last week, has closed. Offline business has become a battlefield no one wins. Online shopping dominates and physical stores are suffocating. The fall of real-world commerce is no longer a number. It's something we can see, feel, and walk through every day. Beijing, once the heartbeat of China, is now a city of silence. This year, both stores downstairs have closed, and I still can't believe how bad the real economy has become. It's 7:20 p.m., and when you walk into a mall, the lights are bright, but there's no life. Every floor looks empty, and the staff seem to outnumber the customers. I went to Beijing's APM Mall on a Thursday afternoon, and it was the same. Quiet, cold, and almost deserted. Once crowded and lively, now it feels like the soul of the city has disappeared. I recently closed my own shop again. The rent for 2 floors behind me was 100,000 yuan a year, something I couldn't afford anymore. I moved to a smaller space, tried to hold on, but still failed. The team disbanded, and I'm now working alone. Life feels harder than ever. Because of my small pension, even a 60 yuan grocery trip is out of reach. Every morning at 5 a.m., people gather in the freezing dark, hoping for a day's work. Some stay up all night for just a small wage. Meanwhile, Beijing has become increasingly strange. A local resident told overseas media that while riding to work near Zidan one morning, he saw several dark, unmarked trucks parked by the roadside. At first, everyone thought it was just another police drill. After all, it's normal to see officers and military vehicles in the capital. But in the following days, the number of military vehicles kept growing. They appeared not only on Chang'an Avenue and Fuxingmen, but also near hospitals, schools, and small intersections along the second and third ring roads. When he called a friend who worked in the security system, the man spoke in a low voice, saying there was some intelligence suggesting people might organize online and cause trouble, so the authorities were tightening control. He hinted that this time, not only the armed police but also regular troops were being deployed at key points across the city. When asked what kind of chaos they were preparing for, a protest, a color revolution, or something else, the man just said, "Don't ask, be careful what you say." That left people wondering, when did Beijing start needing the army to protect it from its own people? What exactly is this chaos? Is it caused by the jobless who see no future, by families buried in mortgage debt, or by ordinary citizens who simply dared to speak out? For many, this crisis feels deeply personal. I just left another company after talking to the boss for over an hour, and I can feel the pressure everywhere. I'm 35 years old, struggling to find a job in Beijing, driving a car that isn't even in my name. It belongs to my mother-in-law. A 26-year-old woman from Hebei told me she earns 6,000 yuan a month, pays 3,000 in rent, and survives on less than 800. She doesn't go out, doesn't socialize, and doesn't know which city she'll be in next. Across China, housing prices have collapsed. In Yongqing, Hebei, homes once sold for 23,000 yuan per square meter, now only 3,500. In Yanjiao, on the edge of Beijing, prices have fallen from 42,000 to 6,000. In Badaling, from 18,000 to 3,000. In Nanjing's Kuiping City, from nearly 19,000 to less than half that. In Huizhou's Zhongkai district, entire buildings stand empty, with owners long gone. After China's reform and opening up, Beijing's skyline rose with confidence. High-rises, private villas, classical Siheyuan courtyards, and housing prices once soared with no end in sight. But now the property bubble has burst, the economy is weakening, and even the capital that once symbolized prosperity has fallen silent. The streets are wide but empty, the lights are on, but no one is inside, and the city that used to never sleep now feels like it's holding its breath. This is not just Beijing's story. It's the reflection of a country slowly losing its heartbeat. The average price of second-hand homes in Beijing has fallen sixfold, yet this is still not the bottom. There's an old saying in the capital, the East is rich, the West is noble. The West once symbolized status and prestige, and for years housing prices there were higher than anywhere else. But now, even homes inside the West Fourth Ring have plunged by more than 60% from their peaks. Many landlords have waited half a year without finding a buyer. The latest data shows that second-hand housing transactions in Beijing have dropped 20% compared with the same week last year. The middle class, once the backbone of the city, is now breaking apart. Many who used to sit in offices have started delivering takeout to survive. Behind the numbers lie three shocking truths. The number of unsold homes has reached over 150,000 units, hitting a historic high. The number of new buyers has dropped by 40% in just 5 years. And today, each buyer can choose from an average of 38 listings, 15 more than 3 years ago. Apartments once priced at 3.5 million yuan now come fully furnished, with home appliances included. You can buy in the morning and get the keys in the afternoon.